Flying in from Texas to be with us today, our keynote released his first YouTube video on December 5th of 2020. As a brand new real estate agent, he had not sold a home in 2020 or the first quarter of 2021. He partnered up with another brilliant mind and they closed their first 2 transactions from their YouTube channel in April of 2021. This is only 2 years ago. In the last 9 months of 2021, their full year in real estate, first full year in real estate, they closed 64 transactions for $33.5 million in volume and just over $1 million in GCI. The second year, they closed 154 transactions, $86.2 million in volume and $2.3 million in GCI. All organic with zero ad spend. Now they own the fastest growing and most viewed real estate YouTube channel in Dallas, Texas, and generate 3 to 5 inbound leads per day. He's raised many stages this past year, including Ryan Serhart's, and has just published his own book, Passive Prospecting. Help us welcome Levi Lascsak to the stage.
Sure, yeah. All right, I was wondering what my intro music was going to be, so I heard all the different intro. All right, welcome. I like that one. Can everybody hear me okay? I can't tell if the mic is on, but I can speak loudly if that's all right. And that last presentation was great, by the way. I'm going to tell you, I need that recording so I can take it back to our team and teach them a thing or two. So no, they're great. First of all, I always like to give a shout out to my partner Travis, and he's been very instrumental in our success over the last couple of years. And here's the deal. Look, we sold 0 homes in 2020. All right. And released the first YouTube on December 5th of 2020 and sold 0 homes in Q1 of 2021. All right, how am I doing so far? This is exactly why you're here to listen, I know. I get on these stages and the people that speak before me are always like, we sold $1 billion, and 1,500 transactions. And I'm like, okay, we sold 0. All right. So it's really good. But I think you just heard some of the stats in the intro. It took about 90 days to get that first deal under contract, from the channel. But once that happened, we were able to close the first 2 transactions in April of 2021. And you'll see what happened from there in the last 9 months. So we ended up generating 690 leads. And you can see we closed 64 transactions for 33.5, just over $1 million in commissions. And, we both started, in December of that year. So this was our first year. And then we had the whole compound effect. And this is what happened. So we ended up generating 1,958 leads. So 5.4 leads per day. Imagine that. And this is inbound. Imagine if people were calling you every day, 5.5 of them. Not sure where the half person comes in, but they call you and they say, hey, I want to do business with you. I mean, 8% conversion. Who is it? Was it Lorraine that was talking about conversion, right? You care about conversion, right? Not the followers. So that's a pretty good conversion rate. You look at most online ads, it's much lower than that. So 86.1 million in volume and 2.3 million in commissions. But what a lot of people see is the surface level success today, right? They don't really know how it got there. And has anybody ever mapped out their life on a chart before? Okay, probably not. Okay, I only did it for this presentation, but it probably looks a lot like this, right? Full of ups and downs. So I want to share with you real quick just a little bit of the backstory. I've got a pretty good friend. His name is Michael Reese. He's been trying to get me into real estate for 20 years. Anybody know Michael? Say aye. Aye. Okay, a couple of you, yeah. So we actually sold gym memberships together back at Bally Total Fitness in the early 2000s. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, when you talk about Bally, that's old school. So Bally was not a gym, by the way. It was a sales organization, first and foremost. So I had gotten into the military. I'd gotten out of the military, and I was looking for a job. Michael sold me a membership, and then I couldn't afford to pay for it, so he just hired me. Thank goodness. But he got licensed in 2002 when we were at Bally's, and I remember he met this guy named Jay Kinder one weekend at the lake, and he came in Mondays to the health club, and he's like, I'm getting into real estate. And I was like, okay, well, good luck with that. And but I knew he'd do well. He's always done really well. So he got licensed in 2002, and he wanted me to get in at that time. But I pushed back on him because I really never had an interest to be a real estate agent. And so I actually pushed back on him for 2 years until 2004 happened. And finally, he talked me into getting licensed. So technically, I did get a license in 2004. But what happened was I was still in the reserves with the military. And we all know what happened around that time. And so I got licensed in 2004. And 1 week after getting my license, I got a call, and it was my captain, and they said, hey, by the way, you're getting deployed. Report to Fort Hood in 4 days. Literally gave me 4 days to pack my stuff, and then I was gone for 18 months for that deployment. So that's where I would share with you, like, there's a series of setbacks that have happened in my life before getting up to this point. And I would say, deploying to Iraq is a mental challenge, right? It's a mental setback. The thing is that this top left picture, whenever you fly into country, we're in a C-130. A C-130 is basically a tin metal can, right? It's made for shipping cargo and vehicles, not really troops. That's why we're all lined up against the side, like side by side right there. No windows. And when you fly into Baghdad the first time, you fly in at night and you fly in what they call a corkscrew pattern. You land like this. And so you try to reduce your risk of getting shot out of the sky as you enter. So that's like your first introduction to going in there, and you're like, okay, this is the real deal now, right? We went there. I have no idea in that middle picture why we're smiling, but anytime somebody says, say cheese, you just smile, right? Even though we're riding around in the back of a truck, you can see we're just crammed in there. Our unit didn't have enough funding for like armor. This was 2004. So that's what we wrote down. And you heard about like roadside bombs and things like that. So not the best protection there. But for somehow we made it through that. And then in that right picture, upper left or upper right, that's an actual sandstorm. That's not doctored or edited in any way. And that lasted for 3 days. Like we had to shut down all operations. You couldn't even drive anywhere. That's what it looked like. And you go to the beach now and you think you get sand in some places you didn't know you had. Try living in a sandstorm, right? Yeah, where it's, breathing, your ears, everything. You're digging sand out of lots of interesting places. So those were the conditions. Overall, it was a constant state of anxiety, and that you have to work through and get through. And we lost a couple of our team members there, and in Iraq, you don't get days off. You don't get time to mourn. You don't get time to feel sorry for yourself. You have to complete the mission. You don't get to just lay in bed one day and say, I don't feel like going to work. That doesn't happen. Every single day you had to go out there and complete the mission. So we had to work through that. So that was a huge mental setback. I think the reason most soldiers struggle when they come home is because it's the first time that you actually stop and have time to think about things, and then that's where they kind of get themselves into trouble. But the other setback was I actually came home from Iraq with a digestive disease, and that messed with me for about 8 years until 2013 happened. And then 2013 happened, and I lost 50 pounds in a single month. And I became completely bedridden and disabled. I was 33 years old at that time, and this nearly killed me. For 3 months, it was the absolute worst time in my life. Saw 4 different GI doctors. They threw the kitchen sink at me with medication, IV antibiotics, hospital stays, steroids, to the point to where they were going to remove my organs. That's what they said would cure me. They were like, we'll just cut it out of you. And I was like, doesn't sound like a good idea, but I kept looking for answers. And I really, by God's grace, I found a natural doctor. And the natural doctor was like, well, hey, we'll just change your diet and put you on some vitamins. And I was like, wait, what? these other guys are talking about, yeah. So, I think I look a lot better now, right? I'm 43. This is, I look better at 43, I think, than I did at 33. I'm like Benjamin Button right now. I'm aging in reverse. So that's the thing, so I recovered from that. It took me a full year to recover, though, because I did it naturally with no medication, no surgery. I have all of my organs today. And it's been 10 years, and I've never had a single sign or symptom of an autoimmune disease that doctors told me I would live with for the rest of my life and be on medication for the rest of my life. And I completely beat that and haven't had a problem in 10 years. Thank you. So I had to recover from that. And then I realized I've never been anywhere in my life except to Iraq. I've never traveled. I grew up in this small country town called Stephenville, like 2 hours south of Dallas. If you're not milking cows or riding bulls, there's really not much else to do there. So I've never been anywhere. So guess what? I started a company because I had a pharmaceutical job whenever I got sick. And after 90 days of being on medical leave, they wanted me to come back to work. And I wasn't physically able to do that. So that's whenever I had to start a business in recovery, and I started this financial services business where I got contracts with Dallas ISD. I started working with all the teachers on retirement planning. So all of a sudden, I started doing very well, and I worked 8 months of the year. I had a teacher schedule and like 5 times the teacher's income. I was like, all right, I'm rich and I'm free. I don't know, So I was like, I've never been anywhere. I got to get out and travel the world. And so I went to 24 countries inside of 3 years to experience life, right? I was like, I got to go out and see these other parts of the world. And so I went all over the place. That top left is actually in Belize. I actually bought a beachfront property in Ambergris Caye in January of 2020. Whenever I was there, I've been there 5 times now, but I love Belize, by the way, investing. We'll get into that in VIP if you want to afterwards. So, but I bought a beachfront property. I was offered, of course, COVID happened. I was offered $100,000 more than what I paid for it 6 months later, but I didn't sell it because it'll be worth a lot more. I'm actually contracted on another 200 acres in the middle of jungle in Belize. I'll close on that next month. And guess what I got 200 acres for? $260,000. Ask me in 5 years, mark this day. If you run into me in 5 years from now, ask me how my jungle resort is doing. All right, that's the long-term plan. I'll build a jungle resort. 130 acres is orange groves, so it's pretty cool. But here's the deal. Then April of 2020 happens, right? So I'm on this, I've got my financial services business. I'm doing well. I'm traveling the world. I'm making money. I'm working 8 months of the year. And I was like super chill right now because to me, health was the biggest importance in my life. If you don't have your health, you can't enjoy your wealth. So I wasn't going outside of the lines too much. I was like, I'm going to chill. I'm not, overexerting myself. And then the world shuts down, right? And guess what shuts down with that? Schools and travel. My world shuts down. My identity, I felt like it. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting there at 41 years old going, how did this happen? Wait a second. What am I going to do now? Like, what's the next step? So I didn't know what to do. Now, on top of that, this is a little blurry, so I guess it didn't convert over. But I want you to see something really, well, you can't really see it, but I'll explain it to you. This happened on April 2nd. This is my bank statements. So that happened about April 1st. I got the contact that the schools were shutting down in Dallas. And on April 1st, I was starting to get out of my comfort zone. Now I was like, I'm going to start investing my money. I'd been stockpiling some money for the last couple of years. I was like, I'm going to start investing it. Found these, I'm going to do some Amazon stores, right? Some of these cool Amazon stores. Well, I wired out on April 1st $40,000. That's $40,000 in cash. And then the next day we get the call like everything's shutting down, officially. And it's kind of like, well, I probably would not have done that, if I knew like everything was going to stop, right? Especially my income. So my income stops. I wire out $40,000. Now over the next couple of months, that first Amazon store started to kind of do okay. It started to look promising, so much for the fact that I ended up wiring out $25,000, $12,500, $17,500, and another $65,000 to invest in a second store and additional inventory for those stores. So I thought, okay, well, this is going to be my play now. This is what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up these Amazon stores. They started to do promising over the next couple of months, but you know what happened in the middle of the summer of 2020? You probably don't because not many people are invested in Amazon stores. Amazon changed absolutely everything. Everything. And it completely, tanked out those stores. But what I'm trying to say is, the funny thing is Michael came back to me and was like, hey, you got to get into real estate. And I was like, I still don't want to be a real estate agent. We've been friends over the last 20 years, but I was just, I watched his success and I know he's done very well, but I was like, it's not really for me. So I spent $161,000 on Amazon stores, $17,000 on mentorship. I spent another $20,000 on courses. I bought like wholesaling, fix and flip courses, those types of things because I thought, well, I do like real estate. I do like investing in real estate, but I don't want to be an agent. So I thought, you know what I learned in those courses? I learned how to cold call, door knock, how to send out postcard campaigns. And I was like, this kind of sounds like a real estate agent, right? So I thought if I'm going to be a real estate agent, maybe I should just work with Michael and these guys and I don't know, at least I'll have somebody I know to work with versus, cold calling for wholesaling opportunities all day. So I learned all that. So basically I spent over $200,000 in the summer of 2020 trying not to be a real estate agent, okay? So I was very reluctant there. But as I started to run out of money, of course, and as things started to happen, I was like, maybe I am going to become an agent, but if I do that, is there a way could I attract business? You see, I've been in sales for the last 20 years, love sales, hated prospecting. And at 41 years old, that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about, starting over again. How do I start over without starting over? And whenever I think about starting over, I think about prospecting and farming out your area, building that up, right? Relationships take time. And every time I built that up, it came back to zero. So I was like, let me look at, if I'm going to do this, and plus, in Dallas, it opened up a lot sooner than most places in the world, during COVID, but still meet and greets, getting out, shaking hands, kissing babies was not really much of a thing, still during that time. So I was like, well, probably social media is going to be a way to attract business. But I was 41. Anybody 40 years old and above in here? Say aye. Okay, love-hate relationship with social media, right? I'd never been on there. I had profiles, right, because my friends and family have profiles, and I'll just be on there just so that if they send me a message, I can reply, right? But I never tried to generate business. But as the 40-year-old age range and above, we're like, okay, we're watching these 20 and 30-year-olds start to make some money, and we're like, well, shit, that's too easy, right? It took me years to do what they're doing in months sometimes, right? And so I was like, I knew social media would probably be a play, but I started to research because, over the summer I started to realize I'm running out of money. Nothing's really working out. The Amazon stores were completely tanking at that time. And I was like, I'm going to start researching YouTube. Not YouTube, but Facebook, Instagram, TikTok actually, because that's where everybody was telling me to go. Because it seemed like everybody was having some success, or at least gaining some followers, or something was popping off. But I didn't really see those fitting my personality. I looked into those platforms first, but I was like, I don't know, it doesn't really seem to fit with me. So I started to dig into YouTube, which was my last choice. But whenever I found out, well, YouTube's a search engine, not a social media platform, it started to make a little bit more sense. And I thought maybe that could fit my personality a little bit more. So I started to research, hyper learning. I think Lorraine mentioned this too, right? I mean, she said, you can learn anything, just start researching it. What do? You start getting into the motion. And I truly believe you can hyper-learn any subject in 60 days. So over the next 60 days, I completely just studied YouTube, started researching, reading everything I possibly could. And by November, I started recording video. And you saw in December that I had released the first video. So I understood in my research, consistency in publishing and things like that was a plan. And so I actually built out a business plan to get started onto YouTube and how I could actually attract business. Now, one more fun fact I'll throw in there is, remember, I started December 5th of 2020. What you're going to see here is, this is a 1099 from Texas Workforce Commission, and this is how I almost quit before I really became, before this really took off. In January, I was out of money. Remember, I started the channel on December 5th. And I was going all in on this. I'd spent all my money, all my savings on everything else to not be a real estate agent. And here I was making videos. And by January of 2021, I was out of money. Now, the thing is if you remember, it was the first time the government ever approved unemployment for 1099 contractors, right? Some of you may have taken that. I was at a point where I was like, well, it's either go get a job, but who's really hiring right now? Everybody is still laid off. Or do I just take a little handout because I didn't want to go to my friends or family and ask them for money. So I thought, let me just apply and see if it works out. And they approved it. Now, I only took like $7,600, but that was enough just to pay a couple of bills in those first couple of months until I got the first deal under contract. As soon as I got that first deal under contract from YouTube, I canceled it, and I was like, I'm never looking back. Whatever I do, I'm going 100% full for. Maybe, did you also focus on one thing? Right? Yeah, so a lot of good points in that talk. It focused on one thing, so I wasn't distracted with everything else. I wasn't trying to be everywhere on TikTok and Facebook. I was like, I'm going to focus on one platform and move through there. So I was able to do that. And you saw you heard that type of success, it'll get you noticed very quickly. And so we've been able to work with some of the best marketers, YouTubers, real estate agents in the planet, including Ryan Serhant. He wrote the foreword for our book. That was really awesome. And then I was at this conference called Build in 2021, and I sat on the very back. I had the least expensive ticket, and I sat in the very back row, but I posted this on Instagram, and I said, nosebleeds this year, speaking on stage next year. Think about this. Started unemployment on January of 2021. I was at this conference August of 2021, and that's what I was already envisioning at that time. And sure enough, in 2022, when Build happened again, I got invited to speak on that stage in front of 5,000 people. So yeah, pretty awesome. All right, so let's dig into a little meat and potatoes here, right? So why do agents fail? Most agents start off with less than $5,000 to their name. It's a problem, right? So that's why they don't want to spend money on marketing. That's why they cold call and door knock and call their friends and families, at least the ones that are willing to call their friends and family, right? So even according to NAR, if you look on NAR's website, it says this, that the agent with 2 years or less experience, their average income is $8,800 a year. Yeah. And you know what it says for the average agent at 16 years? Their average income is $85,000. So think about it, a 16-year agent to build up to $85,000 a year, that's not what I'm looking for right there. But again, it's a rejection-based business. You said it again, you don't like being rejected. Nobody likes getting rejected. You got to have very thick skin, and you've got to push through a lot. But that's why people get out of the business, because they get in and they say, okay, call all your friends and family, tell everybody you're a realtor now. And they're kind of like, oh, well, I know 8 other realtors. But what it really comes down to is not being effective at lead generation. So this book right here, YouTube Secrets, this book kind of really helped me understand fundamentals and principles of the platform. And it really gave me a lot of baseline knowledge. That's what really kicked off everything. So like I said, that was part of my research. I will say this now, this is the book you want to get, though, for sure. Shameless plug there, though. Passive prospecting, though. But here's the deal. When I looked into YouTube, I was like, okay, where are the eyeballs? Where are people actually looking for this information? I looked onto Google and I started searching random suburbs. And Plano, Texas is a suburb of Dallas. On Google, it gets 90,500 searches per month. That seems like a lot. But whenever I searched on YouTube, it gets 834,000 searches per month. That's 10 times the search volume on YouTube than it is on Google. So that alone told me that people want to see these areas, right? They want to see what they look like. They want somebody to walk them through and guide them. So that's what really led me to discover the passive prospecting principles, which we're going to get into real quickly. So this first one is interruption versus intention. Very, very important to understand this. You know, interruption marketing is what we've been exposed to and what you've probably conducted in your business your entire life. That is cold calling, door knocking, billboards, magazine ads, TV commercials. All of that is interrupting what we're doing. It's why none of us like to get a phone call in the middle of dinner, because it's interrupting what we're doing. So, but we market to people that way over and over and over again, because hopefully we just beat them over the head long enough that they go, okay, finally I'll do business with you. I mean, you could see a dog food commercial 10 times a day. Doesn't mean you're going to run out and buy dog food. But when you pour out that last bowl of dog food, nobody wants Fluffy to die, right? Say aye. Aye. Okay, good. The rest of you, here you go. Going to, no. Yeah, so none of us want Fluffy to die, so when you run out of dog food, now you have intention, right? You're like, I'm going to go straight to the store, go right to the dog food aisle, buy dog food, bring it home, or I'm going to go on Amazon and order it, right? Now you have intention. You do not need any marketing or advertising to convince you you need dog food. Now, what if you could be in that position for real estate? Instead of, running into somebody at Starbucks and you're like, oh, I'm a real estate agent, here's my card, let me follow up with you for the next 3 to 5 years until you decide to buy with Uncle Bob one day. That's what we typically do. But do you know that people are actually intentional when they get ready to buy or sell a home? Guess what they start doing? They start researching, they start searching, right? So what if we could get in front of those people instead of chasing after everybody else, just to put them in our database and just to follow up with them and try to build relationship? So this is very important. If you look at the back-end analytics of our channel, this is how we know this. 55% of our traffic comes from TV, computer, and tablet. Those are research devices. Almost 30% of our traffic comes from TV, which means people are sitting on their couch or maybe even laying in bed watching our videos. How creepy is that, right? Yeah, really. I mean, think about it. Because if they're on TV, where are they watching? On their couch, and they're probably with their spouse. And if they're watching real estate YouTube videos about Dallas, do you think they're intentional? Yeah, but they say attention spans are dead these days, which is why you're supposed to be a dancing real estate agent on TikTok, right? So, because they say attention spans are dead. But look at the view duration for TV, 9 minutes and 39 seconds, the average view duration. So the first time somebody clicks on a video, if they're on TV, they're intentional, they're sitting in their couch, maybe with popcorn, and they're going to watch. Tablet, 5 minutes and 50, or no, computer, 5 minutes and 52. I mean, if you're watching videos on your computer, do you think you're intentional? Your tablet, oh, I need a bigger device. So they're sitting on their couch with the tablet. And this is the great thing. If YouTube suggests our videos, which YouTube knows its audience so well, it's only going to suggest videos to people that they believe will watch so that they stay on the platform longer. 10 minutes and 48 seconds, average view duration. And that's why our average contact under contract in 2022 was 51 days. It was 47 days in 2021 and 2022. On average, our contact to under contract. What that means is the first time anybody ever reached out to us, we got them under contract in 51 days out of 186 transactions. Does that speak intentional to you? Yes. Global versus local. You're just talking about Belize, right? Oh, who here is cold calling the UK for clients? Nobody? Okay. Who's sending out postcards to Belize, right? To attract it. No, you're not doing that, right? You would never do that. But we already helped global clients around the world. Why? Because guess what happens? When everybody's locked down in these other countries, guess what they were doing? They're researching online. Plus, even right now, if things are open, do you think somebody from Australia is just going to fly into town one weekend to look at houses? Probably not. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to start researching online. So we've already helped people. Like we got this email the other day. My name's Elizabeth, family of 6 with 2 cats, originally from Florida, but we're living in Belgium. How many have sold a home to somebody in Belgium? Okay, we have. We've sold to people in Australia, to Canada, to the UK, to South Africa, to Japan. Think about all the soldiers that have to get transferred in. If you're near a military base, you should absolutely be on YouTube because guess what? Soldiers are coming in all the time, and where do you think they're starting their search? Right? Because guess what? They get a phone call and it's like, hey, by the way, you're moving to Hawaii. Oh, hey, by the way, you're getting sent to Fort Hood. Hey, by the way, you're getting sent to Kentucky. And they're like, well, never been there before. Guess what they start doing? YouTube. Start researching. Look at views. 69 views at 2 in the morning. 70 views at 3 in the morning. How many of you have cold called at 2 in the morning? No? Door knocked at 3 a.m.? No, but we're reaching 70 people. Could you imagine prospecting to 70 people at 3 in the morning? And do you think that person is intentional? Because they're watching Dallas real estate videos at 3 in the morning? Absolutely. This person from the Philippines, we helped them. But look at this key phrase. We've watched your channel for a year now. It's been a great help. We'll be migrating to Dallas in December. He called us. He reached out in November. So remember, that's why the contact to contract is so short, because they watched the channel for a year. We never knew this person existed until they were within their timeline to buy. And that's whenever they reached out. So that's the key. Now, this is one of my favorite concepts because most agents tell me they don't get on YouTube because it takes too much time. But YouTube doesn't take time, it makes you time. Okay, I spent 30 minutes making one video, but it's been watched 11,600 hours. So I invested 30 minutes of my time. It's given me back a profit of 11,595 hours, if that's the way you want to look at it. But this is the best concept, I believe, because YouTube just doesn't make you time, it compounds your time. Our channel was watched in one day, 1,514 hours in one day. That's like prospecting 63 days in a one-day time frame. In 1 month, it was watched 11,800 hours. That's like prospecting 1.34 years in a 1 month time frame. But last year in 2022, the channel was watched 104,600 hours. That's equivalent to almost 12 years of prospecting in a 1 year time frame. That's why we're doing the business we're doing, because it's not dependent upon me. Guess what my channel is doing right now while I'm right here? It's prospecting. It's prospecting. So we're turning 1 day into 2.1 months worth of time. We're turning 1 month into 1.34 years, and we're turning 1 year into 1.2 decades worth of prospecting. That's compounding your time. So what did I learn? Active prospecting, it's hard. Like I said, I've been in sales 20 plus years, love sales, hated prospecting, because it's why all sales training exists. It's why you're here learning overcoming objections. Great presentation, by the way, but guess why? You have to do that because you're meeting somebody. What do you learn how to do? How to establish rapport, develop relations, generate credibility, right? You have to do that in a short period of time because you're trying to get somebody to know, like, and trust you so that hopefully they'll do business with you. It comes with a ton of rejection. You got to spend 90% of your time, but that's why I love passive prospecting, because it's easy. There's zero rejection. nobody has ever called and said, Levi, I hate your videos. I'm not going to do business with you. Okay? I'm like, no, they never call us. So we don't know they even exist. The client walks themselves through the sales process. So they go online and start searching. They find the videos on their own. They click on the videos on their own. Then they watch more videos on their own. Guess what? The video builds the relationship for us. So whenever they call us, they've already made the decision they want to work with us. Do you think I've got to sell them and close them? And they're also intentional. So they're not necessarily also timing the market. Guess what? These are the people that are intentional about buying. So they've kind of already moved past that. So that's the other great thing about it. So, all my pictures are, is it just me? Is it my eyes going bad or are they all blurry? Blurry? Okay. All right. I was like, man, maybe my age is catching up. No, so the thing is we know this because we get these are texts and emails we get every single day. And you can't read it, but I want you to realize and notice the volume. Look at the amount of information. When's the last time somebody emailed you that much information that you never met before and said, man, that postcard you sent me was like so great. Let me just tell you my life story and here's everything I need, you know? No, they're telling us their budgets, their price range, everything in here, but key phrases like, we would like to check with you if you'd be able to help us find a home. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing from you. If you have some time to talk about this, feel free to give us a call. Because the video has built a relationship for us, so they're willing to give us all their information in the first time they ever reach out to us and say those things like, hey, Levi, are you even, can you help us out? We just want to check. Are you available for us to help us buy a home? How many would that change your business if you had people like that reaching out every day? Say aye? Aye. Yeah. So how am I on time, by the way? 15 minutes left or 15 minutes in? Oh, all right. Well, good. So, and I'm crushed again. All right. I was like, man, I'm doing great on time. So I'm going to share with you just a brief example, though, because I want you to hear I want you to hear what it's like whenever people call us from the YouTube channel.
Hi, Levi. Is this the Living in Dallas, Texas YouTube channel?
That's me.
Are you guys the folks on the YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, that's us.
Okay. I know exactly who I'm talking to then.
But this is regarding the Living in Dallas, Texas channel, right?
Wait, are you Levi from the videos, from the YouTube videos?
Yeah, that's me.
It's good talking to you.
I saw some of your videos, and that's how I found you. So actually very helpful.
My wife and I have seen your guys' videos on YouTube and kind of caught our interest.
I'm posting on your YouTube, but very interesting where you clear share the information.
I don't know if we should ask for an autograph or something. We've been following you on YouTube like you're a superstar.
That I'd reach out to you guys because I've been watching your YouTube videos.
Hey, good to talk to you guys. Been looking at your videos on YouTube.
I feel like talking to the movie star.
Just saw your YouTube video. I'm sure you get a lot of calls like this.
Like some of your videos are literally like the first videos I see, so I'm just like, I'm gonna call this guy, let me text this gentleman.
Thank you. You have a nice video.
We were really impressed, and that's why we wanted to get in touch with you.
I saw your videos, and it actually helped me.
We liked your videos and your knowledge and your...
All right. Wouldn't you like your phone to ring like that every day with people excited to talk to you? And it gets even better. Like, this is what I'd get on Zoom calls, and this is what would happen on Zoom calls.
And I found you through YouTube. It's kind of funny because it feels like I'm watching a YouTube video right now.
I knew you was going to be cool.
You know what? After watching your clip, my head exploded. I was like, wow.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your Sunday.
I appreciate the text messages because those have been super helpful.
Hey, good seeing you again, Levi.
You enjoy the videos?
Oh yeah, I do. I really enjoyed your video.
We saw your YouTube channel and say, hey, look, he looks knowledgeable. He knows the land.
Funny to talk to the person behind the YouTube video.
From one creator to another, I really like your channel.
I saw your videos on YouTube. They're impressive.
It's like seeing a celebrity I've watched so much on the.
All right, there's many more, but could you imagine getting on Zoom and like everybody's just excited to talk to you? And that's what happens over and over again because, again, the video has already built the relationship for us. So, we've been able to help other agents. Now we're starting to do that, across the country. Like, Kyler, this is his first 10 months, in the business. and he did over 12.5 million in volume. So he was completely skeptical, heard about what we were doing. He's like, well, let me just try that in Houston. Worked in Houston, did 12.5 million in 10 months. Rochelle, absolutely crushing it in Toronto, so it even works in other countries, in Canada. So she's crushing it. I mean, her videos get way more views than we do. She's got videos with hundreds of thousands of views, and she had to start a team as well. Kyler had to start a team because the leads became so much, which is what happened with us as well. We had to start a team. The reason we did 154 just from YouTube last year is because we had to start a team to manage. You can't handle 5 leads a day on your own. You can't. You can't do it. So we had to build a team out of necessity. And that's a good thing. Chris, for people in small markets, he lives in Northwest Georgia, not the hustling and bustling real estate economy of the U.S. He was a nurse, got completely burnt out during COVID, no sales experience, no real estate experience. But he thought, you know what, I could probably make a few videos, and nobody's doing that in his market, in a small market. And he did over 5 million in his first year in Northwest Georgia. And Jonathan, in his first 12 months in Southern California, where everybody says, well, everybody's leaving Southern California. Well, I mean, would you like to add another 171,000 in commissions to your business? So maybe you're doing that now, but what if you just added that? What if you could double your business by really not doing much? Because in my opinion, everybody like that book, The 4-Hour Work Week? Yep. Well, guess what? Video is the true 4-hour work week, because and it's really like the 2-hour work week, because I spend less than 2 hours a week making videos. It's the least amount of time I spend in my business, but it gives me the biggest return. And we've helped others do that. We want to help others do it as well. But passive prospecting process, let me share with you some key things you can take away today. If you have a YouTube channel, if you don't, this will give you some ideas. But we did everything. Remember when I researched for 2 months? Everything was intentional. Everything was strategic. So I started with the business plan. If you treat YouTube like a hobby, it'll pay you like a hobby. If you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. So everything on here was on purpose. I didn't name the channel Levi Lascsak, but you know why? Because I've got a funny Polish last name. Nobody can spell it or say it. I can't even sometimes I misspell it myself. But nobody's searching me. Nobody knew who I was. I had 0 brand, 0 presence. So I looked for the top search term in Dallas, and it was living in Dallas. So I was like, oh, that's a good name for a channel, living in Dallas, Texas. So we did that. First of all, what does it say right here? Think about somebody who's researching. Do you think if it said Levi and Travis, Dallas real estate agents, call us, buy, sell, or invest, phone number, email, do you think that's salesy? Oh, okay, I do. I mean, I don't feel like I've earned the right yet to just plaster my number it's like, why? Why do postcards take, months sometimes to work? Is because most of them, it's very hard to articulate a message on there. And it's usually like, best agent in the business, in business for 20 years, real estate agent for 20 years. I mean, it's like a premature sales pitch in my opinion. But if somebody's researching, what does this say to them? And they're thinking about moving to Dallas. Do they say, oh, this channel is for me? It's not a real estate agent trying to sell me a house. It's somebody who's teaching me about living in Dallas, Texas. So that speaks to them. We've got this graphic here, a visual. We get a lot of calls from California, New York, Illinois, right? People relocating. So they have an immediate connection. This builds the rapport for us. We've got the little green station wagon coming from the West Coast. We've got the little yellow taxi coming from New York. All the business people coming down from, all that was intentional. We thought about this stuff. And then over here, this is where most people on their YouTube channel, you can get 5 links right there. They'll put Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn. And guess what? You worked so hard to get somebody to your channel in the first place. Why distract them to a short form platform where they're probably going to watch cat videos anyways? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so the only link we have for them to leave our channel is to book a call with us. Remember, this is a funnel. This is a funnel. If we want to direct people where we want them to go, that's a good catch, then we only want them to leave. Otherwise, we want them to stay on the channel watching more and more videos, right? Because long-form content really builds the relationship. And so that's why we build out the channel that way. Just the banner alone, that is an advertisement, right? That is providing service. But we're providing value. So we're speaking directly to people and telling them what they can get out of it. Content creation. These types of videos work in any market. Vlog tours. You saw, like, whenever I played the phone calls, all those clips of me out in the neighborhood. Like, actually, I just take people out and I walk with them. See, that was the thing. I wasn't the best real estate agent. Not a single person has ever called me and said, hey, Levi, how long have you been in business? How many homes have you sold? What are your stats? What brokerage are you with? They've never asked me that. They assumed I've been an agent for years because you know what? I've lived in Dallas for 20 years, so I can talk about Dallas, which is what I did. It's funny, I was on this podcast the other day and they said, wait a second, you're selling real estate by not talking about real estate? I was like, yeah, I'm talking about Dallas. I'm talking what people are searching about, the neighborhoods, about the areas, about things to do, places to eat, schools, crime, those types of things. And there's ways you can talk about that so you're not steering, okay? And you can talk about that, but I take them out in the neighborhoods. Anybody can go on an iBuyer platform and look at homes all day long, but they can't go through a walk in the neighborhood with me and I can tell them what's really going on in the neighborhood. And I can show them the house across the street and the house next door and the community, playground down the street, and that there's a Chipotle and a Chick-fil-A, the two greatest restaurants in the world, right, around the corner. So that's all important. All right, so then like a map tour, completely boring, but to people that are researching about moving, these are some of our most popular videos. Literally, I get on a Zoom, share my screen, pull up a map of Dallas, and I'm like, oh, yes, this, Google says 20 minutes to the airport, but it's really like 25. Just talking people through a map, and they love that stuff. They eat it up. Pros and cons may sound cheesy, but they work. Top 5 neighborhoods, top 6 that, top 7 list videos, all that works. Search engine optimization, very important. Again, I understood this. Most people never know that you can get software that flip-flops thumbnails every other day. So it's not just me thinking, let me just make a thumbnail. Let me test a couple of thumbnails because clicks matter. Getting people to click on your videos absolutely matters. So even changing something up is, like I put this little curse word over my mouth because I thought that one would do better. But the one without it doesn't because I was talking about the market shift, right? It got 20% more clicks than the original. This one got 387% more clicks. Why? Nobody knows about Fairview. Everybody always calls us about Frisco, but Fairview's next door. Better homes, newer community, better school district. Everybody wants to live in Frisco because of the school district, but they don't know Fairview's right next door and is a really good deal. So I titled the thumbnail, The New Frisco, 387% more clicks. That's important. The last one, well, you can't see it, but still 648% more clicks than the original. Just by making one little change. And anytime you make a change, you change one thing so you know exactly what it is that makes something work over the other. But the first thumbnail got less than 1%. YouTube likes a click-through rate of anywhere from 2 to 10%. And that second video got 6% click-through rate. So just by changing the thumbnail, YouTube would have never promoted the video because of the first thumbnail. But because I tested it, I knew which one worked. All right, and lead conversion. If you have to do anything twice in your business, you need a system, process, campaign, or a trigger. I've never sent a second email to a lender to refer somebody. If somebody says, hey, can you refer me to your lender? I'm like, yes. We move them in our CRM. Automations fire off. Emails go to the agent, the transaction coordinator, the client, the lender. Everybody gets emailed at one time, right? So I wrote the email one time, put it in there. It's all automated. So this is what it comes down to. You've got to choose your hard. It's hard working out, but to me, it's a lot harder being sick. I've been able to maintain the last 10 years just based on diet and healthy lifestyle. That's it. People always say, don't you miss eating this or that? And I'm like, no, I don't miss being sick. I'll tell you that. It's not worth it. So it's hard owning a business, but to me it's a lot harder having a job. And it's hard making videos, but to me it's a lot harder making calls. So either way, you're going to have to choose your hard. But this is the way I look at it. I don't think, I've got to make a video. In year 1, 2021, over $1 million off of 160 videos. That's like getting paid almost $6,300 a video. If I offered you $6,300 a video, could you do it? Say aye. Aye. But it compounds, right? Year 2, I actually made less videos, but my income went up. Why? Because they're always working and they're compounding. So now it's like I make $15,000 a video. That's like selling a $500,000 house every time I make a video. Do you think I need motivation to make a video? No. Nope. Not at all. So what do you believe? I believe if you're not where you want to be, it's just because you haven't learned something yet. I also believe you can hyper-learn any subject in 60 days. If you don't want to be on YouTube, don't. But you know what? If you study something, whether it could be postcard marketing. If you study postcard marketing for the next 60 days, I believe you'll be better than 99.9% of the agents out there. You know why? Because most of them just usually adopted what somebody else was doing and never truly understood how postcard marketing works. But if you studied it, I bet you could blow everybody in your town or city away if you studied it. But I believe if you take massive action, focus on that one thing, completely change your business. So ultimately, it took me 22 years to be an overnight success. Again, what I want you to recognize on this chart, though, is every time there was a low, the high was a lot higher, and the highs kept getting higher. So even though I experienced mental setbacks, physical setbacks, financial setbacks, every single time I bounced back better than before. And now, what I know now, with the power of passive prospecting, I can do that in any business, anywhere. So even if real estate were to go away tomorrow, I can apply this to any type of business. If I was a plumber, electrician, a financial advisor, that's what I'd missed. If I would have built this 8 years ago in my financial business, I probably would have weathered that storm, during that time, because I would have had people calling regardless saying, what do we do with our money right now? But because I had zero presence, and if you don't get on YouTube, I promise you will never get a call from YouTube, right? Okay? So it's not saturated. It's not too late. You're not too old. You're not too young. You're not too ugly. You're not too pretty. And don't tell anybody about your crazy left eyebrow, because most people will never notice your crazy left eyebrow until you point it out, okay? So don't point out your insecurities on camera. Just be the person you are, and you'll get the business. I want to share with this one last thing. I wrote this. This says April 1st, 2021. So right when I closed the first deal, I write out my goals every day in one page. I have this little 8.5 by 5 notebook, and I write a goal for each line every day. But I closed the first deal, and I wrote, I earn $1.2 million in GCI from living in Dallas. And I wrote that every day. Now, I didn't hit it, but I hit $1.7 million. That's not bad, right? Okay. So, but that's what you can, bring into your life, and that's how you can do that. So, thank you for having me today, Tamara. I appreciate it. Everybody else.